Fam, what's up? How's everybody doing? Good to see you guys. A few minutes early, supposed to pop on at 10, but one of the graphics just flew in. So what's up? Yeah, I appreciate you. And then I think we had the show scheduled for 9. So we're always working with like different scheduling, especially on the weekends because we've been like streaming like nonstop. So what's up? We appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. T, what's up?
What's up, undefeated?
Yeah, so I was just like, because usually that graphic
It
goes.
doesn't override it ever. That's wild.
Yeah, it just stays on loop, and then I'm just like chilling, just like posted there. I'm like, we live. What's up, everybody? I appreciate you guys being here. What's up? What's up? Thank you very much for joining us today on February 18th. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Run the thumbs up on all these videos. We appreciate you guys. We got Meryl rolling through at 10:15. So here are the items that I wanted to talk to you guys about on the show today. And Angel from Pigeon Forge already on the line. Let's just bring him in. You hungry? You want to talk? Got Angel from Pigeon Forge just right off the bat. Angel, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you, man. Shout out to our basketball team yesterday. I tell you what, this team is red hard right now, and I tell you what, man, there's no stopping the gas. Put the foot on the gas and keep on going. But man, like yesterday too, we were talking about, man, like how seeding doesn't matter in the tournament, which is true because we've seen it last year when Alabama got upset by San Diego State. But man, I feel like this team's gonna make the Final Four this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think when you look to Alabama basketball on the line with Angel calling in from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the thing about Alabama basketball that really stands out to me is the fact that when this team is hot from the outside, I think they might be the most dangerous offense in the entire country. Buzz Williams said before the two teams even played that this Alabama basketball team was a money ball team. And what that meant to me was like these guys can just light up the court from anywhere. Last night, they hit 18 3-pointers, okay? And the statistic that really stands out to me is the fact that this team has scored over 100 points in, 8 times this season? And the record is 9 times set by the Kentucky Wildcats back in 1995, 1996. Angel, were you even alive in 1995 or 1996?
No.
See,
no.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Okay, chat, what's up? Good morning, Undefeated. I appreciate you guys. Okay, let me ask you, chat, and Undefeated, where were you in 1995? Where were you living? What were you doing? Okay, 1995, I'll tell you exactly where I was. All right, I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, going to Agua Fria Middle School. My teacher was Mrs. Cisneros. That's who my teacher was. That's how long ago it was, all right? I'm 40 years old. That's crazy. All right, Angel, this basketball team, I know you have high hopes for them. I think playing devil's advocate here is the fact that the inside presence of this team, because I think as they are, capable to really run the table, even going into SEC play, a couple things. Now, can this team bang in the inside? You're going to use your big man, Nick Pringle. But how does this team play on the road and in neutral sites? Because you get them in Coleman Coliseum. I mean, these guys are 12-1 on the season, but on neutral sites, they haven't fared too well. And on the road, they haven't played their best basketball either. So those are the kind of things when you play devil's advocate about this team. But overall, if they get hot, they probably run the whole thing.
Yeah, because last year, even though they lost in the Final Four against San Diego State, but, I mean, this team is different now than it was last year. They couldn't shoot the ball well in San Diego State, when I saw that game, because I was like, man, they're 1 seed, man. And they go down, and then same thing when Houston goes down. And I'm like, oh, man, this ain't too good. So I think this team has a lot to prove because last year they got upset by a mid-major college.
Yep.
No respect to San Diego State, but they really haven't played nobody. But really, it was disappointing last year to see Brandon Miller go out like that. And, it's just sometimes college football sports is crazy. It happened to be that day, when they lost to San Diego State. That's why you never underestimate your opponent in football, basketball, or any sport, really, because you never know what's going to happen. But this team is really hard right now, and Grant Nelson's pretty much getting all those boards, which that big man needs to. And I know they didn't play too well this year in the non-con when, Zach Edey Indiana, Clemson, Ohio State, and yeah. But you can't really go into a game and you got to take it one step at a time, But you just never know. And I'm glad Auburn lost last night because they're sore losers. Think they with Tennessee. And tell you what, man, they're just terrible. I'm sorry. Rich Pearl doesn't know what the heck he's doing, and I'm kind of glad he choked on his words when he did that. But other than that, and also about football too, I'm excited for the season to start because Coach KD, man, he's undefeated going into the season against Sarkisian and Dan Lanning. But he's got a lot to prove on this team, whatever, because this team is hungry for a championship. And Jalen, man, it's here, man. Because last year we were disappointed with that final play of the game, the bad snapping, that's gone. Now there's no excuse now. You just gotta make the most of it. And that Georgia game, man, I'm circled down the calendar because I want to hear those Georgia fans cry and complain when they can't beat Bama again with a new top guy. What do you think about that? Like the night game and all that? Should be good to go.
Yeah, I think that a couple of things. Auburn yesterday losing, caught everyone's attention. And I think when you kind of zoom back into the SEC, a couple of things that I want to highlight and kind of pump on is the fact that Alabama in conference play is now 10-2, 18-7 overall, 12-1 at home. And as I pointed out earlier, road, they're only 4-3, and on neutral site games they are 2-3. So that's where they have struggled, right? I think that there are some teams capable, clearly, in the SEC, and when we get to the SEC tournament, they're still capable of beating them. They've beat them already this season. Tennessee, Auburn, one of them. You don't want to get, South Carolina and, get them on a neutral site and them lose. With that said, I think overall this team, what were they featured as a number 3 team in kind of some early brackets? I don't think any of that. I don't think any of that matters. I think that the one thing is that I think that this team, and I said this yesterday, I still feel that this team hasn't peaked to its best basketball this season. Whereas last year, they literally peaked like as the number 1 team, and then they started going down. I still think that this team is going up, right? Do you agree with that? That they peaked too early last year?
Yeah, they peaked too early because it just happened. When you peak too early, the window closes really fast, and you don't know what to do. That's what happened last year, though, against San Diego State. They didn't take him seriously, and they lost. And that's how it works in sports and in life, because if you don't be ready for anything, then you're going to be unsuccessful, and then you're going to lose the game, and then people are start questioning your ability to play basketball and all this. But that's why you just never take your opponent for granted, because you just never know what will happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with, in Kentucky. We play Kentucky at the week after next week against Florida, so got to keep that game ready too, because seeding does matter in the tournament. So who you play and who you don't play, but you just got to take one game at a time because it's a long season. A lot of heartbreak can happen. Just look at Virginia a couple years ago when they lost. What was that one team they lost to? I don't remember the team.
I don't even know who they were, but some of those teams that come out in March Madness, you never even heard where they're at before. And that's the thing about basketball and about football is you could just, the football teams, are all, you pretty much know who's like the playoff type team, but the basketball teams, you're like, where did this team even come from? But Angel, I appreciate you calling in this morning, man. Calling again, and I always appreciate you chatting with me and calling in, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Roll Tide.
All right, roll Tide to you. That's Angel coming to us from Pigeon Forge. All right, I appreciate you guys being fan funders right here on Bama Football on YouTube. How to do that, you can hit the hyperlink at the top of this video. For only $2.99 per month, you can support the entire staff. This channel is supported by viewers like you, to be honest, straightforward. So if you're watching on your phone, you can hit the QR code, but the easiest way is just to go up on your phone and hit the hyperlink, and there's a couple different options to support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys doing that. As Angel was kind of leading off with the show, talking about the Alabama basketball team, I have a soundbite in that I'm going to play while we wait for Merrill, who will be joining us at 10:15, about why Nate Oates had Nick Saban come to talk to the basketball team. I want to play that again because I think it's relevant. And I also want to thank our sponsor, who is in actually Maryland. It's Ocean City, Maryland, and I'll have that graphic up in just a second. If you're cruising through the area, and we're going to try to actually have Coach Smook posted up here as he is moving down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But residents in Ocean City, Maryland, guests can book at residentsinoc.com. Use the promo code LPR for special Bama football pricing up to 20% off. Again, that is residentsinoc.com. Use the promo code LPR. It's going to be fun when we have Coach Smook posted there, as he moves down here to Tuscaloosa. Can't wait for it. All right, Alabama won yesterday 100-75 against Texas A&M. And then one of the bigger headlines was that Coach Saban was courtside. He was posted with Miss Terry. They were at the game, watching the game. And before the game, Coach Oates had Nick Saban talk to the team. I thought it was actually, if you type in Alabama like news, this is the biggest news yesterday. This was above the team winning by 25 points. No, like honestly, like the number one.
It's February.
Yeah, it's February. But the number one thing that was searched for Alabama was not that Alabama won by 25 points or that this team hit 18 threes or this team scored. The real news yesterday was that Nick Saban, who isn't, look, he's an employee of ESPN.
Yeah.
Is that an employee from ESPN, that's crazy to say, spoke to the basketball team? And this is the biggest question right here. I'll just answer it right away. And can we have a banner up there that says, like, because the same thing happened to us with Ryan Grubb. Yeah. And that's on us because people want to come and just get an update. Hits, so, like, how about instead of thanks rolling with the Tide on YouTube up top, no offensive line coach has been hired or update. And DW, what's up, man? I see you. Good morning. Because that is like the most asked question, and rightfully so. I mean, we're like spring football, to our knowledge, is starting on March 4th. Does that mean that Alabama is going to hire a coach? Because if you look at the calendar, you only have a week and a half, right? The new week will start on the 20th. And I mean, so you got a little bit of time, but you get him in. Maybe he already exists. I don't know. What's up, Justin? I see you. What's up, Chris? I see you coming inside the comment box. And then we also had this update from Calvin. What's up, Calvin? Thank you very much as well. Same to you, DW. Thank you for asking the question. And if you have questions, just be direct and like post them, and I'll feature them at some point in the show. Calvin asks, is there any update on Scott Cochran coming back to Alabama? From what I've been told, that he is not coming back to Alabama. Like, he's going to move on to other opportunities. He did a great job for Alabama. He's been a part of 8 national title teams, but he will not be coming back to Alabama. And that's the latest update that I have on here. Kind of switching back to what I was talking about, and if you want to call in, I could take probably one more call before I got Maryland, is the fact that Coach Saban was sitting courtside for this team. And why did he sit courtside? Well, Coach Oates wanted the greatest football coach, really, and I think it goes past this, honestly. We might be talking about, let me ask you, okay, chat, let's get a poll up, okay? Is Coach Saban the greatest sports coach ever? How about that one? Who else? Okay, and I know this is Alabama centric, but when you're talking about greatest coaches ever, who else is up there? I'm running the show, so I'm thinking like a million miles an hour, but like, who else is up there? Like greatest coaches of like any sport. Like, I think that Coach Saban is up there. I'm thinking like right off the top, I'm thinking Phil Jackson of the Bulls. Okay. Because and the thing about it is a lot of these guys, it's about understanding human behavior. And when you can understand human behavior, you can coach better. You can mentor better. Coach K is definitely up there. How about didn't Pat Summitt for Tennessee, the women's basketball coach? I think she was regarded. She has a statue outside of Tennessee. Bill Belichick, John Wooden, of course, Vince Lombardi. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Coach Saban is up there. Like, if we're building a Mount Rushmore of the greatest coaches ever, is Saban up there?
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
He is. Yeah, and I think Coach Saban. I mean, Andy Reid is definitely he's climbing there, right? Pat Summitt, Pat Summitt's up there. And what I've seen from these coaches, what they have is an ability to get to kind of a different level in terms of their mentorship and their coaching. Like I'm pretty sure that Coach Saban took some of his stuff from John Wooden. I mean, who wouldn't? John Wooden's like there. He's stapled there. I think Saban's up there. So I don't know. It's kind of thinking about like greatest coaches ever.
Bob Knight.
Bob Knight was a great coach. I don't think he's one of the greatest ever. But we're throwing up names here. I mean, it's an interesting topic to talk about. All right. And this is it. This is what I'm trying to say right here is Coach Saban, his overall philosophy. I promise you, like, I got so much from Coach Saban. Honestly, sometimes I feel like even my delivery on here and my mentality is from listening to Coach Saban so many times, and how I run even the business is because I've read his books. I listened to him for hours and hours and hours. I understand, like, I got the message. Honestly, it's sunk in. Coach K at Duke, everybody, has So what does the poll say, T?
The poll is saying yes, he is the greatest. But now I'm gonna add a couple other coaches and see.
Yeah.
Who they
And Caitlin, what's up? Good morning to you. Talking about academics and life, right? It's pretty interesting to talk about. John Calipari.
So give me your top 4.
I guess I think John Wooden is definitely there. I think he's probably up there over Saban. But see, the thing about it is I don't know if he had the overall, his like coaching philosophy was on point too. He had the pyramid basically of like winning. He was really the first coach to talk about like a winning pyramid, which Alabama has a pyramid in their football complex, or at least they did. Phil Jackson's definitely up there.
Yeah.
I think John Wooden, Phil Jackson, Coach Saban, and then it's either going to be between Coach K and Pat Summitt, I think. Dean Smith is a very good name as well. Who else? Vince Lombardi is up there.
So I had Saban, Lombardi, Wooden, and Jackson.
I think that's a solid group.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there can only be a few. Right? I think Pat Summitt is definitely... Pat Summitt's like right there.
I know. I kind of feel bad.
Can we look up how many games that Pat Summitt won?
Yeah, let's see.
I saw it. They have
She has 1,098 career wins, the most in college basketball history.
Yeah.
Like not
and
just
how many championships?
Let's see.
Oh, damn.
Championship.
And how about the Bear?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know what? Because what's interesting is when you go, and thank you for adding Bear Bryant. When you go to the museum, I mean, shit, he has a museum here of him. His philosophy wasn't as like, I don't know, vocalized as Coach Saban, but he still had a philosophy, and it's still amazing to listen to. Bill Belichick's up there. You know what we need to do, fam? We need to have like a bracket.
She has as many as Saban.
Yeah.
So 8.
Caitlin, I agree with you. But we can't forget about, the Bear. It would be interesting to have a bracket, right? And like kind of go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. You start listening. But the Saban is 100% at Mount Rushmore. Yeah, I get it. I want to play this clip though. Here's Coach Oates talking about why, and then I have Merrill in on deck. We're going to bring Merrill in just a second. We're going to bring in Merrill in just 2 seconds. And I think that they should have a museum for Coach both. I think it's just a matter of time. So you have a museum for Coach Bryant and you have Coach Saban.
Oh, there's going to be a Saban
100%.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen the Bear Bryant Museum, have you been there?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. And they also have they also have an area. they have like different videos, throughout like the course of his time. They have him speaking. He used to do like the post game show with like Lay's, or no, not Lay's. Golden Flake.
Golden Flake.
Yeah. All right. Here's Coach Oates on why Coach Saban spoke to the team. All right, and here we go, and then we'll bring on Merrill.
But you mentioned on the radio before that you guys brought in Coach Saban to speak to the team. Just why did you do that? What did you want him to tell the team yesterday?
I mean, he's, to me, maybe the best team coach of any team sport in modern college sports history, and he's right here. I talked to him shortly after he retired. He told me when he's going to come back to town. I asked him if he wouldn't mind speaking to the team when he came back to town. So this was in the window. We kind of had the week off between games. I thought it'd be good for our guys to hear from, a respected coach like him on what it took to win. He was great at churning out NFL players. He taught. He's great. He said, I don't know much about basketball, but here's what I can apply from football. I thought he was really good. I mean, he's obviously won a ton of games, and I've tried to learn as much as I can from him. I was fortunate that I was able to spend, 5 football seasons with him here and learned a little bit. Shoot, if he's around here, I'm going to keep picking his brain, see if he can keep talking to our team as the years go on.
All right, that was Coach Oates explaining why he had Coach Saban come. Chance saying the Bear, Mount Rushmore for airport filming. Appreciate you guys being here. We're gonna bring on Merrill. Merrill, you good to go? All right, Merrill, what's up, man? Good to have you in studio, man. What's up?
Hey, Kyle, what's up, man? How you doing?
Who is who? I mean, look, we're talking about like greatest coaches of all time here. Clearly, Alabama has 2 of them. There's plenty in the NFL to choose from. You go to NBA. I don't think anybody put a baseball coach on there, which was interesting in terms of like one of the greatest baseball coaches. Right? Or any other, like what other sports? But Merrill, like when we're talking like greatest coaches of all time, who's like come like, and I know I didn't even like do like research on that. We just started talking about it, and morphed into it, but like just kind of shooting up. Like, who do you think?
Man, that's that's probably one of the hardest topics, right? I would say in sports, period. That because you can argue like players in different sports, and that's pretty easy, honestly, to argue players because everyone will have like a generational player, right? That they'll argue for themselves. But as far as coaches go, oh man, that is so difficult. Because I start to think of basketball, right? Because you have such great, like John Wooden from a sports, he has impacted so much just because of his philosophy. And like a lot of coaches will go back and talk about John Wooden's book.
100%.
Right? Like, I mean, that book is amazing. If you guys haven't caught it, Undefeated, and hey, everybody, how you doing this morning? Thanks for being with us on Sunday. But if you haven't caught that book, it's from a fundamental standpoint of just like bettering your life. John Wooden's book's amazing. But man, then you go into these other sports. I don't really know. I can't pick a baseball coach right off the top of my head. I don't know.
Right.
I know more players than I do coaches with baseball, and I just think it's a different type of game. Like they're just not so visible. If you notice that, like with baseball. I don't know.
I think. I mean, like baseball coaching. I play baseball. Yeah, I've coached baseball. I think we all have at like the youth level, and we played high school or some sort of a little bit in college or whatever. You don't need to be necessarily like so rah in baseball because it's so strategic. At least in my opinion, it's like it's a very detailed chess game.
Yeah,
football you need like a war mentality and also to be strategic. Basketball, you need a lot of momentum from the jump. You need to be able to make second half adjustments. You need to be able to get a technical when you need it. That's something that Coach Oates does really well. He'll just go out and get it technical, right? Joe Torre, thank you. Joe Torre, thank you. Tony La Russa, thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Dusty Baker, right?
Dusty Baker.
Yeah, now we're starting to get some baseball names. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. I was like, who else? From a baseball perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I mean, Tony La Russa, thank you. Yeah, those are some really good ones that we're throwing out here. But yeah, I was just kind of, thinking about from like a greatest coach standpoint, who's up there. And the reason is Coach Saban's here. And this is I started this question inside the chat right now. What's up? Looks like Southern Red. Does Saban working for ESPN now mean he no longer keeps his office at Bryant-Denny Stadium? I think that for me, I think he does keep office at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I think he basically has like a forever office at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And I think he does what he's doing in terms of like, you probably see him speaking to Coach Kalen DeBoer's team. You see him talking to, I don't know, the basketball team, or, still doing things at a high level for Alabama, but on the weekends working for College Football Game Day. And I think he's going to have a really, I wouldn't necessarily like cush schedule, but it's going to be like hop on a private plane, go talk on College Game Day, and then fly back home. Truth be told, that I've been told this, Coach Saban likes to sleep in his own bed. He doesn't do like hotels, like fancy hotels. I'm serious. Like he actually, from what I understand, there's a really fast private plane that he rents out that can make it to California and back within like a certain time frame, so he can still like be home and hang out with Miss Terry. So I don't think like he's going on the road and like waking up at, I don't know, the Four Seasons even and going to game day. I think he's flying in and he's flying out once he's done, period. So I think he does have a forever office, and I think the ESPN office will probably build him a setup inside of his office, so where he can do some virtual stuff as well. T, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
He'll have like his own studio that they can set up where he can do like his ESPN. So because he lives here, so he's just gonna drive to work at Bryant-Denny with his studio. That's I think.
Yeah, I think he keeps his office for sure.
Right, Meryl. Don't you think that makes sense?
Yeah, just because I mean, like, especially like what you just said was a really really interesting point, right? Like with Coach Saban wanting he wants to sleep in his own bed. Yeah. Like that's such a hard thing to do today for a coach, because you think about like what's especially now with the turnover, coaching turnover, transfer portal, that feels like you have to also recruit your own players all year round. Yep. You're recruiting all year round. Yep. Like, right. And so Saban I think that's where you have to applaud him. And you have to also, I think, give even more props to Miss Terry, who's able to be in that sort of atmosphere and still their like marriage, their relationship thrive. Right. Yep. And you hear it in the interviews when they talk together. Yep. Like they talk about like she knew what she was getting involved in. And it's so hard to be a coach's wife. It's like there's a few careers out there where you can say, hey, if you're going to be with this person who's in this career, you have to like mentally prepare yourself. Right. And he does a good job of balancing at least like how much is going on with being at home. Like that's impressive, So I do think that like, on his end too, like from the office standpoint, they probably will do a cool setup. He has so many like trophies and cool stuff in his office already.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine his backdrop?
Holy smokes!
Be like a plaque of like appreciation, and be like in his national title rings. Like his coach. You know what was crazy though is he only won the Paul Bear Bryant Award like one time or something crazy like that. And like
I wonder if it's on purpose.
And the thing about it was, you bring up a really good point. Like his coaching of the year. Like, go look up how many times he won Coach of the Year. It's not a lot. And which is kind of bullshit, because
it is. I mean, it is
held to a different standard, right? Like this year, if there was any year that he should have won Coach of the Year, it was this year.
I know.
Seriously, the way that he was able to like continue to like navigate and surf these waters while being the defensive coordinator, 1,000,000%. I think that he was just, held at a different level in terms of like how they judged him. What do you think about that, T?
Yeah, I agree. And it says he won the SEC Coach of the Year 5 times, but I'm not sure about the overall coach. Let's see, 7 times.
Yeah.
So 7 times.
Well, there's a couple different like Coach of the Year awards, right? Like you have like Home Depot, you have the Bear Bryant, you have the coaches, like Coach of the Year, whatever it is. I just felt that he was always held to like a different standard.
He was, yeah.
But isn't that Coach of the Year like you're supposed to? I think that we can't, as humans, we can't appreciate greatness in the present.
if
I
he's
know.
the standard they're
can't.
holding it up to, he should win, right? Like
Yeah.
if he is the standard, then
Yeah.
I think
But
Well, let's say this though: KD is the one who won Coach of the Year. I mean, if there's,
yeah,
and that's an interesting argument, right? Because like
yeah.
you look at Nick, and he had to deal with maybe a more difficult situation, and to get to where he got to was very impressive, and
Mhm.
also to win the SEC championship, right? With
Yeah.
what he was dealing with. But then to look at KD, who's over with the like a Pac-12 team who maybe has like depth issues, who ends up going to a national championship. Man, to me it just says, well, gosh, doesn't this feel good that we have two arguments and they both are technically the coach?
Yeah, right. I mean, you could. I mean, Coach Saban definitely up for the Coach of the Year award, and Coach KD, what he was able to do at Washington in a very short time frame to win college football Coach of the Year, to take his team to the national title game in the final year of existence. That sounds crazy. Like the final year of existence of the Pac-12, right? Like it doesn't exist anymore. And I think like eventually, it'll be college football will be something like completely different from even what it is going to be this year. But yeah, so kind of leading, and that's a really good segue into this next point, is that Mike Rodak of 24/7 tweeted out recently that Alabama AD Greg Byrne tied 100.9. I didn't hear this interview. He is concerned about the trend of college coaches leaving the NFL. I think the NFL lifestyle is becoming more attractive to coaches in general. Again, you can read this article at 24/7 Sports. I think he's 1,000,000% right. And you've seen college coaches bolt for the NFL this past season for sure. You've seen a lot of guys from FCS schools go to FBS. Like there's a lot of changing, but I think specifically, and I don't necessarily tie this into the Grubb situation. I think, and Meryl, we can talk about that. I think that Grubb wanted to stay in Seattle, and it just happened to work out coincidentally that the Seahawks job opened up. But I don't think he wanted to leave Seattle. But I think there's a lot of coaches right now, because of the instability of college football. Like it's better. Think about this. Chip Kelly, it's better for him to be an assistant coach at Ohio State than it is a head football coach at UCLA. That's crazy to think about. And I think that you're seeing a lot of coaches go to the NFL because of the calendar and the timing of college football. Meryl, what's your take there?
Yeah, I mean you're spot on. I think it's like, you think they just opened up a floodgate without like putting any parameters in place to make sure that the water path was directed to the right spot. Like it's just chaos, right? You're just flooding every city around. And that, I thought about this just recently because we are seeing such a dramatic impact to college football due to this transfer portal window. Number one, we need to get rid of two of them. It's a joke to have two transfer portal windows. Like you get one and you get one transfer. The fact that you get multiple transfers, I could understand like in emergency situations, right?
Yeah.
Where a guy gets like multiple transfers. But as far as like saying, okay, you don't like it here, you go one place. Okay, you don't like it here. All we're teaching these young men who are going into our society when they're done playing football is that if you don't like something, you can just quit and go do something else. And there's no like really work ethic or having to face adversity to get past it.
Yeah.
Right. And then from the coach aspect, like, how do you ask your team to stay when there's so much just rotation of coaching? I understand like promotions and wanting guys to increase, like, right, like get better jobs, get to where they want to go. Like, what KD did for leaving from Washington to Alabama, that is no matter what anyone wants to say, that's not a lateral step. It's a step up, and he has a chance to cement himself into the most historic program of college football all time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But I will say this. From a coordinator standpoint, in a head coach standpoint, once you go somewhere, this is what I think the rule should be. You have to literally sign that contract, and you cannot leave at least for 1 year minimum. Mm-hmm. It needs to be in parameters that you cannot leave, like how the NFL has the ability to block teams from talking to like their coordinators or a lateral position under a contract. That's the way it should be. You can't bounce. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I would say you can't just bounce the NFL either. Especially in certain timeframes of the season, just because of what's happening.
Which leads me into my next segment, which is these are like perfect segues.
I'm sorry.
A transfer portal prospect that is on board, or that could be on board, which is Keon Saab. And Keon Saab if Friday when you are in this live streaming business, T, how long ago does Friday seem?
I don't know, 2 years.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago, and I get it. Like the largest pieces of news. Look, we're gonna get through February. Spring football's coming up. The biggest news is Coach Saban courtside, and Keon Saab has entered the transfer portal on Friday. I'm sorry, Caitlin saying you can make 100. This is for people who work in a mine, I think.
Yeah,
Caitlin?
yeah, I think she's talking about her
100%. Yeah. You know what? Before I get to Keon Saab, I was talking to a welder recently at my last workout.
Oh yeah, they make bank.
Well, the guy was like 26 years old, and his father was a welder, and he was a welder, right? And he was like one of my buddies just got, you have to meet all these certifications to become a welder.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous, right?
Well, I mean, depending on like if you're doing underwater welding,
underwater,
I guess.
Dude,
But he was
crazy.
saying that he was able to go around the country really, and he was welding and he was like crushing it. He's talking like, I don't know, $5,000 a week minimum.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like after taxes.
Yeah. Underwater welders, especially, are like some of the highest paid.
Yeah. So
you see them a lot in Seattle. Underwater welding.
I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. Welders crush it. I was talking about Keon Saab, and he entered the transfer portal on Friday. I think he's honestly a lean to Alabama at this point in time. And we talked yesterday with Coach Smook, and we talked about the fact that he could, fit in really nicely at the free safety position. Merrill, and looking at Keon Saab, what stands out to you about his game, and kind of give us your kind of just some feedback in terms of Keon Saab, what you saw with him at Michigan last year, because I think it's important to note that he has a huge ceiling. Alabama needs people in the secondary, and he played 65 snaps in the championship game against Washington.
Well, what's interesting too is like 247 released the fact that he's like one of the top players to watch for 2024 season.
Wow.
And he's they're showing him as transfer portal, but if you can, I don't know if you guys can see that under the 247 page, but it shows like he is one of the top guys with him under at Michigan. I mean, this last season, he had a breakout season. I mean, Harbaugh specifically named him as like this guy who's really kind of stepped up. I think people thought it was actually coming, because if you look back in high school, he's playing at IMG. That's one of the top premier high schools in the nation for turning out players. On top of that, I think he was able to really get down some better coverage skills when he's younger, playing in different roles, and not just safety. I think he projected to a safety, but playing some cornerback. And then from there, he comes into Michigan, and I think he was one of those guys who had a really good feeling of where those money spots are on the field. So what I mean by that, I think, is, to explain it better, is when you're a safety and you're dropping into coverage, especially if you're playing like a strong safety. So he would come up in these nickel packages, and you'd see him closer to the line of scrimmage, like within probably between 5 to 10 yards, right? And if you watch him when he makes his because he made a lot of plays this last season. When he was making plays. Is he had a really nice feel for like where to drop. What would be really great for him, that's, I know a lot of people say they want to see him at free safety. Well, I mean, I still like, honestly putting either Devonta Smith or, not necessarily Malachi Moore, but I would even feel better about like Peyton Woodyard back there at free safety. But I would put with Saab or Sab, I would put him at, I would put him at the Rover. Because you can see with this breakdown right in front of you on this defensive front, right, that Rover can rotate between all over the field. So let's say we're in a position where we're on the boundary is to the left of this defense. Okay, so the hash, they're on the nearest hash to the left of this defense, and the boundary's over by the quarterback.
Let me just point this out, Merrill, before we start talking. So out on the left, and I'll zoom in. I could share this. Actually, I think I can share. Let me share this a little bit more in depth so we can zoom in before we start getting, because this sounds good. And we're talking about the 4-2-5 defense, and theoretically where situational, Keon Saab could fit in. And we're going to start. I'm going to zoom in right here. This makes it a little bit clear. All right. So we put Saab yesterday at the free safety spot, but
Yep.
when we're talking about, on the outside, if we have Damani Jackson here on the boundary, you're Merrill's talking about the rover position right now. We played with the idea of Devontae Smith or Tony Mitchell being in that spot. Are you saying that Keon Saab could theoretically be a rover as well?
Yeah, that's honestly truthfully, that's where he would be the best at rover.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because number one, his size. So when he plays up on the line of scrimmage, his size is really good. Like, I mean, I think if you go back to, I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", like 208, 210. I think he might be even like 210 now.
Mm-hmm.
But man, so that means that guy's playing further up in the box, so he's a better run support. And that rover, you're going to be able to rotate him all over the field. He has better coverage skills. You're going to do more with this 4-2-5 of doing like zone drops. So, right, instead of man-to-man. So then they should show man-to-man, but they'll do more zone drops. And the way, like I was saying, is he has a really good feel for these like money zones, where he gets into the passing lane really well for a quarterback. And with the amount of heat that's coming from the rush in this sort of defense, right? Because that is one thing we are going to see, is we're going to see a lot. I mean, that sack number is going to go way up.
And we were talking about this too, Merrill, is the fact that I think Alabama last year had under 20 total turnovers. We are looking at the stats, and we are talking like kind of a reality of reach. And do you think in this particular set that that Alabama is able to force many more turnovers with this front?
Oh, completely. I mean, that's what this is made for. That's why if you look at Womack everywhere he goes, right? Like every one of those defenses, they're ranked. No matter honestly what team he was the DC on. Now that I think about it, they're ranked like in the top 15 with turnover rate.
Yeah,
like defense. That's impressive. Because that doesn't. I mean, you're talking about like going from different sets of athletes at each school where you're a DC or even a head coach. I think this place. I mean, you have this guy, right? You have Saab back there who's like sitting in these pockets at the rover where he basically was already the style at play. That's what Michigan did with him. And then what I would do with Tony Mitchell is Tony Mitchell no longer is going to come over and play safety. I know that sounds crazy to everybody. They're like, what? Why would Tony Mitchell not be a safety? But Tony Mitchell then becomes the boundary cornerback. And the reason is because the boundary is your weak side. Okay. So Damani Jackson then moves to your field because he has a lot of speed and his coverage ability is very, very good. But
so you put him over Zay on this side
of the field. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Just like that. Then you have Malachi Moore, which fits perfect for the Husky. And then you throw Devontae Smith back at the free.
Wow. Yeah, that's
now look at your coverage here, like how much speed, and then also what's interesting with this, your strength on the field. Look at that. Like
all right, so let's go over here. So Merrill moved Tony Mitchell to the boundary corner. Then we threw Keon Saab at the rover. Up top, he threw Smitty. And then he threw Malachi Moore. We can erase Tony right there. And then what we did was we put Damani Jackson. We'll just put Zay Mincy on standby. I actually like that.
I'll tell you this too, with Zay Mincy, we could almost rotate him and put Xavier Brown there because Zay is going to play a boundary side corner.
So say that again, Merrill.
Xavier Brown. That's who you want with Damani Jackson on that side.
Okay.
Because he's better. And Mincy goes to the boundary side behind Mitchell.
Oh, got you. Okay. Cool. I'll do that too. You do that. Got you.
Because then what you have here now, right, is like to break it down for everybody who's looking as we're moving these people, is with these type of players, if you look now on that boundary side, look at the size you have over there. The reason you want that size, right? Like, look at that size. That's crazy. That's some serious size. But that's because they're going to try to take advantage of that side, whether it's trying to run, because that's your weak side of the defense, or what they call it. So you want that player to be able to have that size to match up and be able to come through the blocks and come up and assist on the run. But you also want that player to be able to cover, because it's a short side, right? So they don't have to cover a ton of ground, but they need to be long So that way, when they do try to dump these passes out there, that person, the way they move their length, and you see that with Xavier Mincy and Tony Mitchell length, is that they're able to get into these lanes that are a little better and allow them to maybe break up more passes when they're going one-on-ones or playing their short zone, right? Because they're not going to try to one-on-one with these guys and go deep. It's to the short side of the field, and it's a really hard throw for a quarterback to the short side of the field to throw a deep ball, because that window is just I think your safety's back there roving, so it's easier for them to break to the boundary.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, and then I think this is, clearly we know that this is how it's going to go. And what's up, everybody inside the comment box? Thanks for joining us. We're here with we got Merrill on board today. So we're just basically, we've been talking a lot about the defense. It's been really, really fun to talk about these formations, and we're putting guys in different places. Merrill actually was the first one to put Tony Mitchell out on the boundary side, along with Zay Mitchell's mentioning the size and the length, contributing to why you're putting him out here. And that's honestly the first time that we've seen that. Everyone has seemed to keep Malachi the Husky. And then in terms of Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown, and then you have up top Devontae Smith. So I like this. I really do. I really feel, Merrill, and I know we're talking about cornerbacks, but just kind of to segue here to the interior linebackers. Yeah. My understanding with the 4-2-5 is that the interior linebackers play a significant role, and the better interior linebackers play, the better this 4-2-5 could be. And I'm saying this because you have probably the best tandem of inside linebackers in all of college football in Deontay Lawson and Jahad Campbell.
Yes, you do. And it's scary. What's going to be really, really scary is now this is why I think people kind of got a little worried. They're like, well, what about Saban's defense? It was made to help these players develop and get to the NFL. Well, this defense does too. It's not. I'd rather see a player's skill set and how fast they play, because we can teach them concepts. That's not an issue. But if in this defense, these guys get to play like lights out. They don't have to. This is a read and react. Watch the ball and get to ball, right? Like, go blow shit up. That's what these guys do. And now you have literally, I think these two are the best tandem of linebackers in college football for this next season. And they are in positions of advantage.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, like I mentioned this, when we talk about the linebackers, I think last year you talked about Dallas Turner and Chris Bras being one of the best tandems, but I think this will be the best tandem in college football. And we'll talk about some guys behind them and kind of the depth on other videos that we talk about in terms of the defense. And this was something that Smook and I drew up. Are you feeling good in terms of like where things are from the Bandit, DT, Nose, and Wolf, Merrill? Yeah. Yesterday we put Keon at the Bandit, Jaheim, Tim Keenan, and Q Rob. I know we got to put on Quay Russo or Yanze, but what do you think about this defensive front so far?
I like it. I like Keeley. Keeley will be interesting. I do like him a lot at Bandit. The Russo's one I keep going back and forth with between Bandit and between the Wolf.
You think he could theoretically be moved to like inside linebacker to provide depth?
He could. Because he is versatile like that, and that middle linebacker is meant to. He's a gap filler. Yeah. Right. So like your Sting is the linebacker you want to like make the plays because he's playing like your weak side. But I'll tell you, like this is where you almost feel like it's Christmas in a way for Alabama, because here's the deal. Between these edges and the way you can rotate all these different edges, meaning like your Bandit and your Wolf, and the depth there that can move back to these linebacker positions is phenomenal. And one thing I brought up yesterday is Overton, right? Take him out of the edge rotation, put him at D tackle and nose, and let him do a 3-man rotation with Keenan and Otis.
Yep, love it.
Like, have him put back on the weight of 280, 290. Someone suggested that in the comment box last night. Put him back on and let him do a 3-man rotation. When the Seahawks had a dominant defensive line, they went to Super Bowl and they killed Denver. They killed them. That's the type of line they had. And this is the type of rotation they ran.
Mm.
I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, and I like that too because it sometimes like when we talk to depth charts, people are like, "Well, he's not starting, so he's like a too deep." No. Like the better teams have like 17 starters. You rotate those guys, three-man rotations, different corners, different guys within the defensive line, and it makes the team that much better because you're fresh and you're playing at an elite level. And that's why I'm not like theoretically too worried about Alabama on either side of the ball, is because you still have your 1 and 2 deep are as good as anybody in the country still.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I shoot, you'd almost the one part, right? Like where we do is you did bring up a good point as far as maybe a little bit more in the linebacker depth. Okay. Like do we grab another guy out of the portal coming up? Or do we move somebody because we're so deep at edge. Do we move someone back who can play and rotate maybe with those guys? The next part of that too is like, how do we get like Q-Rob? He can still rotate into one of those positions. I mean, I would almost be okay with rotating him at a sting. Oddly enough, like a lot of people are like, well, why Q-Rob? Well, Q-Rob he's disciplined. His fundamentals are good. That sting plays the weak side. He's an attacking backer. It's almost a very similar position to the Wolf, except maybe there's a few more reads.
Yeah.
Right. You have a little bit of distance from the line. But that's where I would like Q-Rob, where I would almost feel good about Rusaw having a breakout year, stepping into that Wolf and say, hey, just go get the quarterback. Take your edge and go get him. Right. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how. That's why I'm excited for spring, man, just to see what they do with these guys and how they're going to move them around and just make sure they reach their max potential in this sort of defense.
Yeah, here with Jake Merrill talking about the Alabama defense and what could be, and these were kind of some ideas, and actually we didn't even have defense on the board. We just kind of like moved towards that. Well, because really what we were doing is we were talking about Keon Saab and Keon Saab transfer portal, and then how he could fit into the defense. Efron, what's up, man? We see you inside the comm box, run defense or pass defense, and that's I think we're just kind of doing like a base defense there. But that's kind of the beauty of it, is you have so many weapons inside of this defense that you can still move around. And I think the defense is promising. Now
it is.
Right. And I think it was kind of shocking to me that Alabama only had 19 turnovers last year. Right. You got to get those turnovers up. I was surprised to see that. What did we put the over under at T yesterday for turnovers? Was it 20? Right. And it's got to be more than 20, right, Merrill, this year?
Oh yeah. I think especially the fact that like you have the amount of talent that Bama has, right? You have these. Man, this is I'm praying. I tweeted something this morning, and I made sure I sent it to Keon because I'm like, dude, you want to come somewhere and you want to like eat, you want to be a high round draft pick, like you need to come to Bama and play in this defense. It's made for you. It's truly made for you. And then he adds to that depth, right? Like, I mean, it'd be great to grab him. And I do feel like that trend is going. I know Louis says that. Don't we have to land Saab first?
Yeah.
God, I hope we do. I mean, I think we will.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds like the trend is going this way. I mean, we'll see.
And if you look to the timeline too, Alabama is recruiting his two brothers. And then also on top of that is the fact that it was Courtney Morgan who was recruiting him when he was at Michigan. Man. Like, that's seriously wild, right?
Yeah, that is wild. And then they brought over, I don't know if we talked about this, is it Tony Jones? Can someone in the chat help me with this? The newest guy hired in that personnel department. I think it was, I want to say it was Tony Jones or Smith. Tony Jones. I want to say it's Tony Jones, but he comes from Michigan and he worked in connection with Morgan.
Yeah.
They like just hired him.
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know, man. I don't know. Weird. Like, but I love this guy. I think he really helps like set us up perfectly for a flow. Yeah. It was Jay Townsend. It was Tony Jones. Yeah. 100%.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Appreciate you. Yeah.
But man, I love it. Like that's a great, and with the DB coach now from Michigan getting hired by the Chargers, and I wonder what's going to happen to that other defensive back because there was some rumors going out about him too. So we'll see what happens if he enters the portal. But and I can't remember his name.
Alabama
He was
would
good.
welcome those guys with open arms.
Oh,
I mean,
smokes.
it's just wild to kind of think back and you look to 11 guys and a coach, really two coaches from the secondary, because Coach Saban was really the corners coach.
Yep.
So Coach Saban was the defensive coordinator and the corners coach, and then T-Rob worked as kind of everything else. So you really lost two coaches and 11 players, either to the NFL draft, the transfer portal, or whatever. So that's wild to think about when you talk about Alabama secondary. And you kind of look to guys that left that I felt like, I don't know, not to talk about guys who left, because I know people don't like that, but I was just really surprised that Trey Amos left. I thought he was a guy. I mean, and you're talking about a guy on that boundary that has the size and the length. He's what is he, 6'3"? I mean,
six,
right?
6'2", 6'3".
Kind of like a bigger, like a kind of like what some of the guys
I
that
think
were
he's like 6'1" and up.
Yeah. And you know what? I liked Trey Amos's game, and I think that's a really good pickup for Ole Miss, to be honest. I think when you're looking at transfer portal wins, that's a win for them for sure. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, yeah, but I like this game. I don't think they're, but but you're the first one that said maybe put Tony out there. That's the first time I've seen that. I want to definitely see more of him. He's going to be he's got a hell of a story, I mean, everything that he went through in the offseason, or before he got here, and then laid low, stayed in class, did all that, and he's certainly going to be one of the players that we're all looking forward to in terms of in the secondary. I mean, so many different storylines, and we'll keep you posted. I mean, still got to land Keon Saab, and there's going to be another transfer portal coming up. I mean, that's what we were talking about. I was like,
we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
I don't know if you should buy your jerseys just yet, like for college football. Seriously, I don't
think there'll be a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like for us, at least, I don't think we are gonna see like turnover out the window like that. What we saw originally. There's a potential maybe one or two guys, and I have no idea who that could be. And I'm just saying it's a potential just from a standpoint of maybe somebody doesn't like something about where they're seated at the moment.
Or they get processed, to be honest. Sometimes that happens. It's like, hey, like, you're just not gonna play here.
That's true. I mean, hey man, we need a scholarship spot open. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Deion Sanders did.
Yeah. I mean,
day one.
I think we got a Curtis Perry. See someone inside the comment box. I'll post him on the screen. You know what? Out of Pike Road. This is an interesting name as well, because I mean, you're right. Like, we haven't been talking about Curtis Perry, and I think when you look to the defensive line, even though you do have some guys who are kind of more established with Jaheim Otis and Tim Keenan, I don't know. Maybe a guy like Curtis Perry, this is the year where we see kind of some of those risers. I was asking Coach Sean about guys who are a little bit under the radar. I don't know. Maybe Curtis Perry is one of those guys. So I appreciate you bringing him to the forefront here. 6'2", 265 out of Pike Road. Last year, here's a detail from the University of Alabama. Provided depth along with the defensive line. Seen time in one game against Middle Tennessee. Saw his first game against the Blue Raiders. Did not see action. So, but again, just hasn't really had an opportunity just yet. Maybe this is the year where you see some of that rotation with Curtis Perry. Anything on Curtis, Jake?
Yeah, it's funny because like literally this was the position group I was going to jump to next with like D-line coming up here going into this week, just because we've covered so much about DBs, right? But I think with Perry, I think that makes a great point. I do think that he is probably one of these guys who this last season, he probably got maybe stuck a little bit in the flow of trying to transition or really try to get a hold of this defense that Saban ran. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people talk about how complicated it was. And there are, I can tell you, like with a 3-4, right? Or 4-3, depending on what he does with it too, because he had a lot of changes with it as well throughout the season. So that can be really hard on a guy. And you kind of get lost in the mix of things when you don't pick it up right away. And hence also why you kind of saw Saban always go the route of like maybe upperclassmen. Did you ever notice that with the way he played defensive guys? It seemed to be a push more towards, unless you had a really good skill set,
Mhm.
But like, so I don't know. I think this could be the year where we do see a lot of guys, and that's why we're bringing up some names in the secondary, maybe even at linebacker, and whatnot. That you have these guys who can come in now and feel a little more free in this sort of defense. It's easier to understand because you don't have as much responsibility, and there's a way more. The concept is a flow, right? To flow to the alleyways and then get after the quarterback. There's not a lot of complications to it. So now these guys can maybe play to what we saw them coming out of high school and go after it. So
Cody White is saying Perry does have a high motor. I think he was complicated, and I think the 4-2-5 will keep players from getting lost and just play football. No thinking, kind of just getting after it. Yeah, I appreciate you, Cody White. Thanks for joining us today. We're just, we're talking about the defense. I mean, we spent some time on it here. It's fun. It's always fun to talk about the defense, and you have a new defensive coordinator come in. I mean, really all the players. And now that we have like our board to mess with, we're going to mention more of these players. I think what we're going to do forward too is kind of start doing some positional spotlights going into spring football to where we can have, whether it's just a fan funders video. And I encourage you, if you guys are not a fan funder, appreciate you guys thinking about becoming a fan funder right here on Bama Football on YouTube. What does that include? It includes special emojis that you can use inside the comment box, exclusive videos where we do more tailored videos that talk about specific players or positions. So a lot of that is for fan funders only. And as low as $2.99, you can become a fan funder. Just hit the hyperlink atop the screen, only $2.99. Caitlin is asking about Pop Stroke here in Tuscaloosa. We haven't been there yet, T, right?
No, we haven't been because it's been so busy every time we've gone by.
So Caitlin, give it. I don't know. Like today, it looks nice outside. Yesterday was cold, but keep us posted because when we have. Thank you, Gary. And Gary's saying you will not regret it. Yeah, we post some articles from Ty, some exclusive videos from Sean. I know you're going to do some videos as well for us, Merrill. I do videos as well, so there's some exclusive stuff. The exclusive videos are just for fan funders, as low as $2.99. It's literally 10 cents a day. But every time we've driven by Pop Stroke Golf, which is like putt, I guess. There's been like 10 people on each hole. So people are excited. They want stuff to come to Tuscaloosa. I mean, I know, Top Golf is in Birmingham, and there's a lot of people, that would love to see one here, me included. Or bring I would like to see a Costco here. T, what would you like to see?
Costco.
We have a Sam's Club, but we don't have a Costco.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a difference.
I don't know. I just maybe some different restaurants. That's it.
I would think Jack Brown's just came in.
Oh yeah, Jack Brown's.
And they opened up a new Avenue pub out here.
Yeah, but we already have an Avenue pub.
I know, but there's one closer. It's easy to park at over here.
I did like it. It was good.
I think I saw, let's see. Daniel is saying, what is this? Asking who's the GOAT coach in this platform is biased. Many people know nothing about John Wooden or Vince Lombardi. What's up, Daniel? We see you inside the comment box. We did mention John Wooden. Merrill actually did, and we did as well, kind of talking about his pyramid to success. And I think that has really carried over. What's interesting about John Wooden's approach, and same thing with Vince Lombardi. Vince Lombardi is more of like a coach, but like John Wooden, his philosophy not only went to coaching, and this is something that I think also with Coach Saban, but I also think it went into business, right? Like structuring, like there's like a pyramid to success in all of it. It's like basketball, football, life, YouTube channel, like there's a formula, and so I definitely think that. So good stuff, Mara. I enjoyed the segment, and I hope you guys do. Where we're at in February. Look, it's February. And, that we're talking about the topics that are relevant kind of going into spring football. I get it. Sometimes it can get a little dry because it is February. Hang with us. We will get to March. During the month of March and in April, during designated times when there is practice, when there is news, we will be streaming continually. Today is Sunday. I know everybody, whether you're going to church, whether you're going outside of the park, whether you're running some weekend errands, spending time with whatever it is, go do that. As news breaks, please think of Bama Football on YouTube as a source to go to. So if there's like a major nugget for Alabama football or something, like we got you covered right here at Bama Football on YouTube. And it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to the channel, but also hit the notification button turn the bell on so you are notified when we go live, when we do different videos that are centric to Alabama football. So keep us in mind and enjoy your day. Honestly, like enjoy your Sunday, because there's going to be Sundays going forward where you are on this channel. So get a comfy chair, get a big screen TV, which you could also watch our YouTube channel, because we will continue to have tons of content right here on Alabama football on YouTube going forward with our different content creators. Merrill is doing a fantastic job. We appreciate it. Gary, I'll get to you before we bounce out. Kyle, do you think they will continue to record practice how they did? I think that do you think they will continue to record practice?
I think it's going to be more open, right, this year.
Yeah, I think practice will be open. From what I understand, we're going like during the actual season, we'll get to watch a practice on Monday. We'll get to hear from the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and from the head coach and from players. So think about this on Mondays. Remember in the past when you just had Saban at 12 p.m. and then you had the players after? Well, now think about this. Practice in the morning on Monday, a viewing period to watch practice.
Yep.
Talking about practice in the morning, Coach Kalen DeBoer at the podium, Nick Sheridan at the podium, Kane Womack at the podium, Jalen Milroe at the podium, and Malachi Moore at the podium. There's your Monday.
Which is awesome because before we didn't get to talk to any of the other coaches.
No, and what about do we talk to do you know if they were able to talk to coaches after the games too, like the assistants?
Yeah, so they would come in like so you'll see it like Grubb would do a lot, and Grubb's a hard one too, because his interviews are like very he's almost like a Belichick style interviewer, right? But like Engel would be good. He did majority of like the defensive side, like any of the from a coordinator standpoint. So you did get to talk with him. And obviously it depends on the game too, because we got to remember, if you're having like a game that has high on emotions or runs long into overtime, or depending on what happens, like then you'll have a change of schedule on what media and who's available for media, right? But for the most part, you're going to get that access to these guys, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fun because you're really going to see like their personalities and excitement come out, and then also like their skill set of understanding like how to improve or what they did really well, and recruits are going to hear that. It's going to be awesome. Like I'm excited for that for Alabama football side.
Yeah, and see, Cody White's exactly right. Like, got to do some yard work, 100%. And then when the weather starts coming, I love to do yard work as well. Like, I love to make sure that I'm like such an A-type that I have to make sure that there's lines and everything is like mulched properly. It's serious. Like, and it's like people love it out here. It sounds like the yard Olympics. All the guys are out there, and now is a time to start like kind of prepping for that. So go do your things on Sunday. Think of when news breaks, Alabama football. Have your notifications turned on. We will be back at 6 p.m. Right? See, yeah. We don't even necessarily have a schedule. It's February, and like every time we cover a different month will be a different way we cover Alabama football. But we're always talking Alabama football. Probably be back on live. You'll see a schedule. T and I are going to talk behind. It might be myself. And it might be Coach Sean this evening. So we'll keep you posted right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for supporting Merrill and myself right here on Bama Football on YouTube. We're getting closer to an actual football month. Just let's kind of sail through this Sahara desert of think about it. If we didn't think about this. What if we didn't have these like this type of news even for February and January before Coach?
Oh yeah. What
were you doing?
I don't know. It's like
It'd
pop culture,
right? I don't know. I don't know. So,
lots of basketball.
So we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for being here. Hit the thumbs up. Run the thumbs up on all these videos. Stay tuned for more Fan Funder videos. And think of us when news happens right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Enjoy your Sunday. And thanks for rolling with Coach Merrill, myself, right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or way up in Washington. This is Bama Football on YouTube, and we'll catch you soon. See you guys.
See ya.